Hey, it's Clay at claytrader.com. This will be my top 10 stocks as we head into Friday, September 23rd. This will be a technical analysis breakdown. So if you're someone that uses charts within your trading, or maybe you're just interested in learning more about charts and how they can be used to help make good decisions as a trader, this will be a video for you. Real quick, a couple of clarifications. First off, this price you see here will still be changing, and the candlestick itself will still be changing. That is because the market's still open for a small amount of time. I like to do these videos when the market is still open because sometimes we can capture some really interesting late day price movement. And then second, I'll be using the 30-minute time frame, meaning each one of these candlesticks, again, as they're called, represents 30 minutes worth of time. So stock number one here, SPRO, big movement today, absolutely massive volume, and is now setting up very, very interesting headed into Friday. And what makes this interesting is the fact that, well, first off, it proved that it can move and move very quickly. But then we had this phase where the price pulled back, and during these phases, it always becomes a very valid question to throw out there, is this the beginning of the end? Is this pullback going to just lead to a complete collapse? And we got our answer. It did not lead to a complete collapse. The price came down here and then did start to go sideways once again at 210. Now, let me be very clear, and I wish I could say trading was this easy. Just because the price went sideways does not mean that for sure guaranteed this is the bottom and that the price is going to bounce. But now, is it logical to think that it could bounce? Yeah, that's certainly a plausible thought process to have. So if you are somebody that likes to play pullbacks and then you try to, find yourself a good little entry point here from a risk reward standpoint, you're now getting that here with this setup. And on top of all that, the pullback has happened on much lighter volume, which is good to see also. So again, no guarantees, but is it plausible? Is it valid to think that maybe this pullback is over and that this thing might get another jolt of energy over the next few days? That seems reasonable. So let's see what happens with it. Next one, AVCT. Very, very impressive move today. This will mean a bit more to those of you that have watched the past video I've done, but I have been talking about that red line right there, the resistance, and you can see today got the breakout from there. Came back down here, beautiful back test, and then from there up the price went. So more of the story, definitely a lot of updates here need to be made as, this all occurred on very solid volume too. So let's squeeze things down here just to offer up a bit more context. That's still not as high as it was, which I guess can be looked at as a good or bad thing. The good way being, hey, you know what, there's still plenty of upside room. The bad thing being, okay, it'd be that much more powerful if it was breaking these highs. But all in all, like I said, it's kind of just depends how you want to look at it. But point here being is with the break here, you now have another couple of areas. First key level to watch, so let's change that, is going to be that 35-cent mark. 35 cents, nothing, complicated behind that other than the fact of, generally speaking, that's essentially where the party stopped today. But then after 35, price opens back up with the next key level of resistance not being up until up around the 41-cent mark. So keep an eye on those from the resistance side of things as I zoom back in here. As far as levels of support are concerned, first key level that I would say make this chart look the absolute strongest going forward would be if it can stay up above the 28-cent mark, but more so from the overarching standpoint, as long as the price remains above that purple line, the 50-period moving average, keyword being moving, so as time goes by, that line is going to move itself higher and higher. So it's basically like a trend line that's going to draw itself for you. So as long as the price stays above that overarching quote-unquote trend line, then that does still imply that the price is in full health. But yeah, again, preferably speaking, staying above 28 cents would be best case scenario. But all in all, big volume today. Let's see if this volume carries into Friday. Next, SAVA, very, very impressive move. Beautiful uptrend here. And like the other stocks we looked at, all occurring on a well above average volume day. So a lot of eyeballs definitely going to be watching this one here headed into Friday. So let's map out a couple levels here. We'll start with areas of support. So as I just mapped out in the previous one, there's that ideal level of support, and then there's the overarching one. So in this situation, the ideal one that would make this just look insanely strong moving forward is if the price can stay above 46.50. But again, from the overarching standpoint, you do have that purple line there, which will move itself higher and higher. So keep in mind that dynamic. I'm not going to go through all that again since I just said it, but you get the idea there. As far as levels of resistance, got to squeeze down the chart here as you're seeing. Oh, wow, even more than what I realized. Okay, so basically it's essentially a miniature blue sky breakout if the price can get back above these highs from right here, because as you just saw, which I didn't realize, it has been literally months upon months upon months since the price has been up this high. So $51 is that near-term area of resistance, and if the price can break through there, then again, at that point, essentially a blue sky breakout. So keep an eye on that. But overall, from a more so broader picture of things, as long as the price keeps on putting those higher highs and higher lows like it's been doing, that's going to be the best sign of strength. Next one, AMD, which will mean a bit more to those of you that have been watching the past videos, but I've talked about, there we go, this sideways channel here over and over and over again, and finally got, somebody finally won the battle, because it was the battle between the Bulls and the Bears won, and you can see, actually won in the last 30 minutes on Wednesday. But you can see with that, I mean, just absolutely, as you would expect, not shocking to see such a well-established pattern when the pattern finally is broken for it to get such continuation. But it was, like I said, in the bearish direction. And, it just makes a lot of sense when you consider, the context of that big pattern going into the day. So I'll get rid of both these lines here as they serve their purpose for now. But one of the newest areas of resistance now moving forward, if there is any sort of attempted continuation of a bounce, is going to be right up here at 71.75. So keep a close eye on that. And then kind of reverse what we've been talking about in terms of the purple line, the 50-period moving average. In this situation, it's more of a downtrend line. So my point here is that, don't get me wrong, if the price breaks above 71.75, that is a good step in the right direction. But there is still going to be more work that needs to be done, and quote-unquote more work being defined as, breaking up above and, clearing above that purple line there, that 50-period moving average. In terms of levels of support, nothing fancy here at all. Literally just a question of, okay, well, where did the bleeding finally stop today? And that was down there at 69.15. So that'll be a key level to watch moving into Friday right there. But overall, yeah, brutal day today, but we'll see if the price can try to level out and maybe get some sort of bounce, not necessarily on Friday, but maybe early next week. Next one, AMC, and a brutal, brutal day. Not because, yes, because it was red in a pretty big way, but also because it broke down through what had been a very significant level of support right there. And if I squeeze things down, you'll get a little bit more context. But you can see that the price, I didn't realize that. So even worse than what I thought, because why do I say that? Well, let's move down to this other area of support, which was at these lows from way back here in September before the very nice bounce happened. You can see now the price is actually even down below those lows. So, we are at lows that have not been seen, I think, for multiple years now at this point. So we're at multiple year lows now. Just a really rough day. And the first key level of resistance, just based on a foundational rule, which states when levels of support are broken and closed below, they tend to act as resistance. So if the price does try to bounce at all, that first key level it's going to have to fight through is 790, which you can already see is behaving as resistance. So that makes perfect sense while the price is struggling. Now, it doesn't mean that the price can never get back above 790. I'm just saying it makes sense why the price is currently struggling at that area. And then, of course, even if the price gets up through it, you still do have that overarching level up there, the 50-period moving average, which you can see acted as resistance back there on Wednesday. As far as those supports are concerned, as is the case with the other ones, nothing fancy here. Just the question of, okay, well, where did the bleeding finally stop today? And that bleeding stopped right down there at 773. So that'll be the main area of support headed into Friday. Real quick, I wanted to take a break and personally invite you to get signed up for this free live online training that I'm offering. So if you've been enjoying what you've seen and you want to learn more about this tool, how it can and should be used, and why it's just so powerful in helping traders build consistency, then definitely get signed up for the free training. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a link in the description box. If you're watching at my site, there's an area right there on the webpage. Now, one special note, because it is live, the session is this evening. So I understand, as somebody that's got 5 kids, sometimes life is busy, you have schedules. So if you have something on your schedule already tonight, go ahead, drop me an email. I'd be happy to send you a recording when it's all done. Or maybe you're watching this Friday morning and you've just flat out missed it. Again, drop me an email, clay@claytrader.com, and I'd be happy to send you a link so that you can watch the recording. All I ask is, it is a live event, so the event first needs to happen, and then I got to get it uploaded to the site. But after I do that, like I said, I'd be happy to send you a link to that recording. So go ahead, drop me a link if you can't make it live. But if you can make it live, then definitely get signed up. Next one, PLTR, and like AMD, rough day today, not necessarily because it was a red day, but because it broke down through what had been a very important technical level. So if I squeeze this down, you can see that this green line here was an important level. It was keeping it out of a certain range, but by breaking down through it, it's now putting it down in this bottom half of the range, which brings about the first update. And you've heard me already say it, that when levels of support are broken, they tend to act as resistance. So if there is any sort of continued bounce here, that first key level going to be right up there around 757. As far as areas of support are concerned, the next level here that I would expect is pretty stubborn. And if it's not stubborn, then that would just really show how strong the bears actually are. And I'm not saying it'll even get tested, but right down here around $7.20, give or take, if there is some sort of rollover, then like I said, I'd expect a pretty big fight down there. You can see the last time, from behind my ugly mug, there we go. So last time it was down here, you can see that it did hold strong and actually provided some really nice bounces. Does not mean, of course, that another bounce will occur, but is it valid? Is it rational to think that a bounce could, play out from there? Yeah, absolutely. But point here being 720, I would expect to put up a big fight. But if it doesn't, then wow, that just would really illustrate how strong the bears actually are. But yeah, rough day today, getting within a range of what I expect to be a good solid support, but we'll see what happens. Next, ATXI, very, very nice pattern here. very nice volume. And when I draw out this pattern, please realize I'm not trying to impress you. I'm not trying to imply this is a great skill or a secret discovery. The exact opposite. I assure you a lot of people have drawn this pattern. And I say all that because when a lot of people are watching the same things and wondering the same thing, call it a self-fulfilling prophecy. Call it whatever you want. It can produce some very dynamic movement. So the level here that, in my opinion, at least a lot of people are going to be watching is right up there at 48 cents as that key resistance area. And then you got to think a lot of people have drawn that little uptrend line right there. So let me change that to green to represent more so the bullish part of the pattern. And then to make this maybe easier to see from a pattern perspective, let's just make it the same color. So we have our resistance, we have our support, we have the big momentum move right here. For you golfers out there, I'll put a little golf hole down there. And this would be known as a bull pennant pattern. So if you like to play bull pennants, if you like to play penny stocks, here you go. And as I said, no guarantees, but is it rational to think if the price comes up to the top of that pattern and then gets the breakout that people are going to buy? Well, just because it's breaking out of a pattern, that's absolutely not a guaranteed outcome, but a plausible outcome that could very well take place. So like I said, if you like to play bull pennants on penny stocks, here you go. Next one, NIO, very rough day here with the breakdown and continuation from yesterday's movement. So I want to get some things updated here as failed to do so in yesterday's video. But the level here that, to give some credit where credit's due, it did ultimately hold strong right down here around this $18 mark. You can see, again, generally speaking, once again behind my ugly mug, so let's fix that real quick. There we go. You can see that it had been an area of resistance both there, pulled back, essentially a gap test, and then came back up very nicely, and then once again is right around that area. But long story short, $18 is going to be a very, very important level. And I'm not saying this will occur, but just from an explanation standpoint, if the price were to drop below 18, what is that doing? That's essentially putting the price right back inside of this area where it already was. And I mean, not to insult your intelligence, but price movements with genuine power are not going to go back to where they were. And yeah, this movement right here, very, very powerful. But as of right now, the question of, but is there any sort of genuine power behind it? It's starting to seemingly become no. That was just a prolonged dead cat bounce. But like I said, the price does still have the opportunity to show some signs of progress by staying above $18. So we'll see if that can be accomplished or not. If there are any sort of bounces, then you're going to want to keep an eye on your moving averages up here, which right now up around the 1950 mark. But yeah, things are definitely looking pretty shaky. Next one here, TSLA Tesla, and another rough day here. And what really caught my eye as soon as I opened up this chart was the last 30 minutes. Brutal candle there. And yes, no guarantees, but would it be shocking to see some sort of continuation now headed into Friday? I don't think that would catch anybody off guard based on, the last 30 minutes here, but we'll have to see what happens with it. I'm going to go ahead and just clear these levels out as they were both demolished today. But as far as levels of resistance, if it does try to bounce, then keep an eye on that pink line there, the 200 period moving average. And just again, a classic example of a support turning to resistance, because you can see right here, it bounced up, and then right where it got hung up was at that level. So if the price does try to head back up, let's just call it 293 is going to be that main level of resistance due to that 200 period moving average. In terms of levels of support, squeeze this down here a bit, but the next key level to watch very closely, going to be down there right around the 285-ish mark. So keeping a close eye on 285. And if 285 cannot quite hold up, then at that point, next key level of support going to be right down there around the 281 mark. But yeah, very rough afternoon, very rough final 30 minutes. So we'll see if that carries into Friday. Next one, HOOD, Robinhood, and a brutal day. Started off acting like it wanted to be strong, got the gap up. Price ran all the way up here, and a true story, poor souls were buying up around that area. Hopefully they had a stop loss in place, because after that, it just dropped. And now it's sitting there right now. To be fair, it has not quite broken the lows that it formed early on in the afternoon. I mean, it's knocking on the door, but point here being 960 going to be a very, very important level of support. And if 960 does not quite hold up, then the next key area of support after that will be down there around the $9.35 mark. But so those would be the main areas of support. However, I think the most interesting dynamic here is just how strong this thing seemingly was, and then just completely got crushed back to the downside. So the classic gap and trap. For those of you maybe not familiar with terminology, this is a good example of that right here. If there are any sort of bounces, you have that 50 period moving average, and then the 200 period moving average that could potentially present some problems. But given the last 30 minutes and how it is coming down and now approaching that area of support, I think that'll be the main question on people's minds: is can the price stay above 960? We'll see what happens. That wraps up the top 10 list. Again, if you like what you saw here, then I want you to get signed up for that free training. Like I said, it'll be this evening, Thursday, September 22nd at 7 p.m. Eastern time. But also, like I said earlier, if you already have something on your schedule or you're watching this Friday morning and you flat out missed it, then go ahead, drop me an email, clay@claytrader.com, and I'll gladly send you a link to the replay of it so you can watch it and see what you missed out on. As far as these top 10 videos are concerned, if you enjoy this format, then do two things for me. Hit the like button and leave a comment down below. Those two things communicate to me that you are enjoying, and as long as I know people are enjoying these videos, I will continue to do them. And the comment doesn't need to be anything special. Tell me what you traded today. Tell me what you're watching tomorrow. But those things really do go a long way, and I appreciate it. So again, get signed up for the free training. Hopefully I'll see you here in a few hours, but if not, then go ahead, drop me an email, and I'll be sure to email that as soon as possible. Thanks for watching. Take care.